Hello again. So I'm going to try and give you a little practice exercise every week to work on to test your skills, that kind of thing, and use what you've learned each week. So this week we are focused on these three sections. One is an intro to HTML, an intro to CSS, and an intro to JavaScript. So a little bit of everything all together. We're just getting a little taste of each three things, right? So for this exercise, you're going to create the web page shown here. It's got a header here, like an H1 header. It's got a paragraph. It's got a little piece of the paragraph that is strong, another part that is an EM emphasis. We've got a link in here. So, and we've got some JavaScript going on that we'll talk about in a second, right? So with our HTML, you're showing all these various things. You're showing a header, a paragraph with those tags in it, another paragraph that has a link in there. The link is going to go to this unsplash.com. Unsplash.com is where I'm getting this random photo from. The photo, every time you load it, the photo will be different. It's a random photo. It's not actually taking from a sample of 3 million images, because I think you need to use an account for that, you know, an Unsplash account to use that API. But it's got like 5 images it cycles through randomly. Sometimes you get the same one. And it'll have a link that'll actually take you to unsplash.com. And then it'll have these JavaScript, these are HTML buttons that you can see in the code in the JavaScript section. You have one that changes the heading background to white, which it's already white, so nothing happens when I click this. If I click green, it'll change the background to green, white, green, right? So how are you going to do this? Well, start with the HTML, start with the headers, the paragraphs, try to do, you know, the strong, the emphasis, the link, the image. Now the image, I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you the link to use for this random image. You can see that. I'll put it in the description for this video on YouTube. And let me see, one sec. Here's the link that you'll be using for that. HTTPS source.unsplash.com/random/ there's this question mark with query equals, wait, is that right? Yeah, orientation equals landscape. And that allows it, basically this is added on to ensure that you get a horizontal, like landscape sized image each time, because there are, you know, portrait vertical ones also that it can randomly generate if you skip that. Okay, so you're going to want to end up using the example that they give you in the book for the intro to JavaScript section. Here's an example that they give you for this motorcycle image. If I open the one that they give us, it's this here, right? We have a couple of, we have some CSS here and we have some JavaScript going on. Notice in the code, let's see, here's the style. It's part of the head, right? The head tag. Enclosed in the head tag, you have this style section. This doesn't really, the little white space that I'm adding here doesn't add any changes to the code really. So here I have the H1 is going to be green text with a background of light gray. And if we look at that, it is green text, background light gray. Every paragraph or P tag is going to have it's going to have Arial font and a margin left of 10 pixels. These are things that you'll learn later. You don't need to worry too much about these individual things. In order to get the ones that we're going to use, you're going to need color. You're going to need background color. Let's see, what else will you need for your code? The other thing that I'm using to make that one that I showed you here, I'm actually keeping the image somewhat small. If I were not to do that, it would look like this. Every image kind of depends on the size and the resolution of the image that is being fed to it. I'm just getting a lot of the same images here. Okay, they all seem to be the same size. I just shrunk it down a little bit with a CSS tag that is width. So if we look back at the example they gave us in the intro to HTML section, and I open this code, we have this photo of a motorcycle in there, right? I can actually change the size of that if I were to include some CSS for that, style, and what am I changing? Sorry, one sec. Which HTML element do I want to change the width on? Well, I want to change it on the image, right? Not a specific image in this case. There's only one image, so I'm just going to use a CSS rule for IMG, right? And that will, oops, one second. Hang on, I don't want to use where IMG. Oh, okay. I'm going to do width of let's say I only want to do 20 pixels. It was giving me an error because I wasn't finished yet, and it was confusing me why it was giving me an error. So if I flash back to that, let's refresh. Okay, it seems like, oh, I don't know, I screwed something up. So I'll close that and reopen it. Any second now, hopefully. Oh, there it is. Notice I made the width of the thing 20 pixels. So that motorcycle's there. It's just really small. So let's make it 200 pixels and it'll update to 200, right? So for this one, for the demo here, I just set the width to 500 pixels. So if I notice that should look about the same width for this, and it might be 500 pixels already by default, but so that's another CSS that you'll want to use for this if you want to replicate what I'm doing here. So you're going to want to have some blue text. You're going to want to have that link. The link goes to unsplash.com, https://unsplash.com. It's a great site for finding photos. They're all free to use. And then you're going to want to use the JavaScript that they use in the JavaScript example. So that's our kind of style example there. Here we have, if I just kind of space out to separate the JavaScript, we have a lot of this you don't need to learn entirely yet. A lot of this will be copy and paste, but noticing how to change certain elements within there. It's about, you can't just, sometimes you find something a piece of code that you could use, but you want to learn how to edit it to make it useful to what you want, right? So we have a variable here called white button, white BTN. We have these two HTML buttons in there. These button tags actually create the buttons that are in the code right there, that are on the web page. They have these IDs called white button and green button. Okay, so we use this document, which is the HTML document, dot get element by ID. Get element by ID, the element is the white button, green button, right? So once we use document.get element by ID and type it out like that, I mean, you can essentially copy and paste that, and you're going to create a variable that's basically holding it. It refers to that button now. Okay, so I don't have to go through all this get element by ID white button thing anymore. I just have this thing called white button. And when I say white button dot add event listener, it's going to listen for a click on that button. Anytime it clicks, it's going to run this function, which is basically just this line of code. Change text color to white. So when we look at change text color, it's this function down here, which what is a function? It's basically a named bit of code. This bit of code right here is named change text color, and it uses this new color. So again, a lot of this, you don't have to learn all this yet. You're going to be basically copying and pasting a lot of this into your code. But what's the difference that we're doing in ours? We're not changing, let's see, what are we doing different? We're changing the H1 header from green and white, right? This one here is changing what? It's changing the text color between green and white, but ours is changing the background color between green and white, right? So you'll just need to find where you think you need to make that change, right? And I'll give you a hint here. What are we looking for here? Down here in the function, the heading, which is here, it's probably not going to be bike heading in your code. Maybe it'll be, I don't know, image, image heading, whatever you're going to call that thing. You can give it a different name, or you can call it bike heading, but it'll still work. There's just no bike on our page, but whatever you think that heading should be called for our page. It's not going to be color. What is it going to be? The CSS, instead of color, which was the text color, we want to use background color, right? Because ours is changing the background color, not notice the text color is still blue every time, right? So try to go through that using the code that they give you in that section and make changes and try to ultimately come up with this as an exact replica of what I made right here. And that's something you'll do a lot of times. You'll see some style, you'll see some layout or a web page that you want to basically copy and make small changes to or whatever, but you like the style or some cool effect that someone has on their web page somewhere, and you want to basically make that effect happen on your page. So for this, I want you to try and copy exactly what I have here and duplicate this page. Okay, and in a week from now, next week, when I post videos, I will post the solution code for how to do this. All right, so give that a shot and good luck to you.